Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and whatever else is watching. My name is Nick and we are once more playing Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair. Damn, the ending of the last chapter, chapter 2, that left me really touched. It really was something. However, now I am curious at what chapter 3 will bring. So that means
you just have to peel off that wallpaper and stash it in the storage room. It's not that big of a deal.
Then, when was Hiyoko actually killed?
Good point. And on that note, it's about time we shed some light on those imitation murders.
You mentioned imitation murder more than once. But what is that?
Are you kidding me? You haven't seen my masterpiece? The Wizard of Monomi 2.5D?
Hey, don't put my likeness in your movies without my permission.
I really like these two. But to answer Monomi, well, we didn't watch it either. We just conned Monokuma into how do I say it? We conned them into thinking that we were going to pay 1.5 million.
You're pretty noisy for someone who eats mothballs.
I don't eat mothballs. I just enjoy looking at them.
I knew it! There are so many similarities. It must have been intentional.
Ibuki's death by hanging matches the Scarecrow's death from the movie. Not just that, but Hiyoko getting taped up after her death matches the lion's death.
It's as if both crimes were replicas of scenes from the movie, although the mutilated Tin Man was omitted.
But why did the killer go to all this trouble in the first place?
Based on what we know, the reason the killer chose these imitations isn't that difficult to figure out.
Oh. The reason the killer imitated the two victims in that movie. I should be able to explain that. To mix up the killing order, to hide the weapon, to let their accomplice escape. Because they like to mix up the killing order.
I see!
The reason the killer imitated two of the murders from the movie was so he'd mix up the killing order.
Then, Hiyoko was actually killed before Ibuki?
Yeah,
A
that's
valid line of reasoning.
Yeah,
is
it's
confirmed.
valid. The condition of Ibuki's body suggests that as well.
That's something to check it out.
Mean. If you're going to cry and beg like that, then I guess I'll hear about the condition of Ibuki's body.
We're not crying and not
I'm
begging.
not even crying.
I'll let you sob as much as you want later. Just hurry up and tell me before I change my mind.
What a jerk!
Oh, I see. You want me to explain it to you, right? Because you don't understand what I'm saying, right?
Ouch,
Bigger
Chiaki.
jerk? Impossible!
Look, Ibuki died because she hanged herself, right? That means when she was still alive, her feet were touching the floor.
What's wrong with that?
Her feet had blood on the
But
soles.
it seems Ibuki was still standing when Hiyoko was killed. That would mean Hiyoko was killed before Ibuki.
How light. Your words are so light as the sylph's feather. Your opponent is out of your league. It is too absurd to try to perplex me so inadequately.
Man, he's being annoying again.
No, he's just being
First
weird.
and foremost, you claim Ibuki's feet were touching the floor when Hiyoko was killed. How can a low-class creature with no psychic abilities like you know something like that?
Because she was doing something that's only possible if her feet were on the floor.
Standing in blood.
It seems you suffer from a pathetic delusion.
You're one to talk.
Anyway, if this continues, we're just gonna talk in circles. I think it's best if we clarify Ibuki's status when Hiyoko was killed. Okay. Blood and Souls, motel room, scrap paper candle. Blood and Souls is the one. So let's see
When
what's...
Hiyoko died, Ibuki's feet were on the floor.
I am telling you to present your evidence.
Did you see her walking?
If her feet were on the floor, was there any sign she stepped on something?
Were there even any footprints at the crime scene?
Maybe her feet were on the floor. But she was like sitting or something.
I think it was Sonia's.
So instead, there'd be a mark on her ass.
No!
Weak, I say! It doesn't even pierce my heart!
I have to yeah,
When
Blood on the
Hiyoko
Soul,
died.
Sonia.
Ibuki's feet were on the floor.
I am telling you to present your evidence!
Did you see her walking?
Oops.
If her feet were on the floor, was there any sign she stepped on something?
I agree with that.
Consent. That was the word I was looking for. And I can just shoot next to the...
Just as Sonia said, Ibuki stepped on something. That something was blood. There were faint blood stains on the soles of her slippers.
That is not Ibuki's blood, right? She suffered no external injuries.
That's right.
Then it's Hiyoko's blood!
Hiyoko's
Probably.
only wound was a fatal slice on her neck. And she died almost instantly, right?
If Ibuki stepped on her blood,
It means Ibuki was still standing when Hiyoko was mortally wounded. Which means Ibuki was still alive at the exact moment Hiyoko was killed.
Don't underestimate the power of the evil eye!
Gundham, what the heck?
Is that it? A shepherd dressed in his Sunday's finest still reeks of lamb, Hajime Hinata.
Does that mean you have a rebuttal?
Does that mean
Looks
you
like-
have a rebuttal? That's a good line. But are you sure you're sure? If I show you how serious I am, this world might be destroyed, you know. You're so frightened you can't even make a sound. It seems you've realized our difference in status.
Not really.
However, the time for conviction starts now. You better entertain me to the fullest.
He's kind of weak, you know, Gundham. Go shoot for him. Step ladder.
You're saying the blood on Ibuki's feet belonged to Hiyoko? Ha! Impossible! Try to remember the crime scene. There was no blood on the floor. You can't step on blood that was never there. Just about 1 minute.
Wait, where am I?
You see a
Oh! I forgot. I actually have to slash things. X overturn, fast forward argument, open handbook, menu, fireproof blade. Okay, next up. I kinda forgot this bit. I can't just listen to what he's saying. I also need to respond.
You're saying the blood
Okay.
on Ibuki's feet belonged to... Ha! Impossible! Try to remember the crime scene. There was no blood on the floor. You can't step on blood that was never there.
Damn!
Just about one you see a nice nightmare.
As long as
Advance.
Ibuki's body has no open wounds, there's no doubt that that blood is Hiyoko's.
Hiyoko was taped to the pillar, yes. But it's possible that the pillar still had blood on it. However, you cannot step on the... You should feel proud. It's been nearly 3 years since I've had to use 60% of my power.
No. What the heck was this?
You're saying the blood on Ibuki's feet belonged to Hiyoko? Ha! Impossible! Try to remember the crime scene. There was no blood on the floor.
But
Crap!
You're saying the blood on Ibuki's feet belonged... Ha! Impossible! Try to remember the crime scene. There was no blood on... You can't step on blood that was... Just did you see a nice nightmare?
Despite this, I feel like I've already seen an opening to counter. Is
You're
this a
saying the
trap?
blood on Ibuki's feet belonged... Ha! Just about 1 minute.
Oh, the smudge on the floor! That was the one! Ah man, I used the wrong blade.
You're saying
Okay,
the blood on
okay.
Ibuki's... Ha! Impossible! Try to remember the crime scene. There was no blood on the floor.
Yeah, there was.
Cut through those words.
There was a smudge. I was too focused on the wrong one.
The reason there was no blood on the floor is because the killer wiped it away afterward.
Don't say such foolish things! You don't have proof of that at all!
Yes,
Yeah, we have.
I do. If you look closer, there's a streak on the floor where blood was wiped away.
When the killer tried to hide Hiyoko's body, they probably cleaned the blood at the same time, but... Ibuki must have already stepped in it, and the killer probably didn't even realize it.
The reason they wiped off the blood on the floor was so we'd mix up the order of the murders, right? Even if they're able to hide Hiyoko's body, it'd be bad if her blood was left out in the open.
Plus, Ibuki's body was left out in the open, and it wasn't bleeding from any open wounds at all.
Hiyoko's body was probably wrapped in duct tape to stop her bleeding.
Actually, the bleeding will stop once the heart stops beating. So I don't think they had to go that far.
Aside from Mikan, none of us were aware of that fact, so the killer probably did not know it either.
Okay, that exonerates
That
Mikan.
fever was running inside the music venue so it would screw with Mikan's autopsy?
That's right! I didn't know the time of death because of the fever!
The time of death wasn't mentioned in the Monokuma file just to keep concrete evidence from us.
Yep. Since we have all this evidence, there's no one else who wants to object, right? Then it's decided. Hiyoko was killed before Ibuki.
It appears that it is wiser to retreat for now. Fine then. But regardless of good or evil, there's no deceit in upholding one's convictions.
Can't you just shut up and back off?
Now then, let us resume our debate.
Wait a sec. There's something I want to run by Monokuma first.
What?
Again? Didn't something like this happen last time too?
Hey, if the victim actually committed suicide, what are we supposed to do?
Huh? Suicide?
The same as always. You have to vote for who the killer is. Think about it. A suicide means you've killed the most important existence of all, yourself. Unfortunately, that means there's no Blacken to punish, but I guess in a pinch, I can always punish Monomi.
Why me?
Nagito? What do you mean? If the victim actually committed suicide?
Well, I mean, I understand Hiyoko's death, but I'm wondering if Ibuki was really murdered. For example, it's possible Ibuki killed Hiyoko, and then committed suicide due to a guilty conscience, right?
Really?
That's totally impossible! Then she never would have killed her to begin with!
I think the lack of
She
blood
was
on her...
afflicted by the despair disease, remember? That means anything can happen.
But if Ibuki's the killer, she wouldn't have been able to falsify the sequence of the murders, right? After Hajime saw the hanged body, the sudden appearance of Hiyoko's body soon after means
Someone else is
the
involved.
killer had to be alive at that time.
then she was alive. When Hajime first discovered Ibuki, she was just pretending to be dead. If she waited until Hajime left, that's when she could have made her move and mess with the crime scene.
But
She hanged herself. Remember? There's no fucking way she could have faked that.
And if she was going to fake her death, I think she wouldn't have chosen hanging. Her body would have been defenseless in that state. If anyone touched her, that alone would have ruined her plan.
pretty much.
I see. So that means there's no doubt that someone killed those two. I'm glad. Now I'm free to search for the killer.
What?
What the heck?
There's still one more issue on my mind. If Ibuki didn't commit suicide, then just what was that video Hajime saw?
That's a good question.
According to that video you saw, Ibuki was by herself when she climbed the stepladder, right? Then does that mean someone forced her to do it?
Forced? Perhaps they used hypnotism or something?
Not
I don't know
necessary.
anything about that.
Don't say it all proud.
Putting that aside, it seems obvious that the killer did something. So, maybe we should figure out who was able to do whatever that was.
So, an alibi. Then our plan is to destroy the weakest alibi.
And that was...
Since Hajime has seen the video, it is clear what time the crime took place.
Is it?
But just to be sure, that surveillance camera doesn't have a record function, right?
It's a cheap-ass surveillance camera, you know? There's no way it'd have some kind of sweet recording feature.
Yeah.
Then, the video Hajime saw was actually live?
What time did Hajime see that video?
I saw it at the hospital, right before Monokuma's morning announcement. And I saw the body at the music venue a little after Monokuma's announcement.
So Ibuki hanged herself right before Monokuma's announcement. And since we established that Hiyoko was killed before Ibuki, that means the time that the murders occurred was before and during the announcement.
Then, we just have to find the person who doesn't have an alibi during that time?
Now then, I shall issue my decree. Let Operation Destroy the Weakest Alibi commence.
Oh god, Mikan just became a suspect in my mind.
We can exclude the sick people like me and Akane, right?
And what about the others?
Right before the morning announcement, I was totally sleeping in my motel room.
I think everyone at the motel was doing that.
So everyone who stayed
Oops.
at the motel doesn't have an alibi. What about you guys? I was where I was supposed to be, my own cottage.
That's not an alibi.
Aside from those afflicted by the disease, if nobody has an alibi, then Operation Destroy the Weakest Alibi has failed.
Murder supposedly happened before and during the morning announcement. Person who doesn't have an alibi for that time.
We can exclude the sick people like me and Akane, right?
And what about the others?
Right before the morning announcement, I was totally sleeping in my motel room.
I think everyone at the motel was doing that.
So everyone who stayed at the motel doesn't have an alibi. What about you guys? I was where I was supposed to be, my own cottage.
That's not an alibi.
Aside from those afflicted by the disease, if nobody has an alibi, then Operation Destroy the Weakest Alibi has failed.
The murder supposedly happened before and during the morning announcement. The person who doesn't have an alibi for that time.
We can exclude the sick people like me and Akane, right?
And what about the others?
Right before the morning announcement, I was totally sleeping in my motel room.
I think everyone at the motel was...
Okay, I want to look over those accounts. There are several accounts. Right up until the Monokuma that morning, Mikan was with Hajime the whole time. Afterwards, she went to the hospital to check on everyone and realized that Ibuki had disappeared when she rushed out of the hospital to search for Ibuki. She apparently met up with Fuyuhiko. Okay, and Fuyuhiko's accounts. After Fuyuhiko met Mikan in front of the hospital, they split up to search for Ibuki. They checked the movie theater Electric Avenue, but they didn't find anyone apparently. Fuyuhiko and Mikan were only separated for a short time. Fuyuhiko and Mika met Mikan in front of the hospital. They split up to search for Ibuki. Sonia's account. Hiyoko was distraught because her kimono was disheveled and she was unable to tie it on her own. That's when Sonia apparently told her about the full-length mirror in the music venue's storage. Monomi tote bag that was sold at the movie theater. It's a limited item because only one person can buy it. Apparently you get another bag for free when you purchase it.
doing that.
So everyone who stayed at the motel doesn't have an alibi.
What about you guys?
I was where I was supposed to be, my own cottage.
That's not an alibi.
Aside from those afflicted by the disease, if nobody has an alibi, then Operation Destroy the Weakest Alibi has failed!
We can exclude the sick people like me and Akane, right?
This one
And
is
what about
tricky.
the others?
I have to admit, this
Right
one
before the morning announcement, I was totally sleeping in my motel room.
I think everyone at the motel was doing that.
So everyone who stayed at the motel doesn't have an alibi.
What about you guys?
I was where I was supposed to be, my own cottage.
That's not an alibi.
Aside from those afflicted by the disease, if nobody has an alibi, then
No, that was not the right one. If you make a rebuttal to make, please make sure it makes sense next time. Okay. Ah, am I going to lose this class
We can
trial?
exclude the sick people.
After, right up until the Monokuma announcement that morning, Mikan was Hajime the whole time. Afterward, she went to the hospital to check on everyone and realized that Ibuki had disappeared. When she rushed out of the hospital. Met in the front of the hospital, they split up to search for Ibuki. They checked movie theater and Electric Avenue. Actually, Mikan's probably is before and during the morning announcement, but till the morning announcement, Mikan and
We can exclude the sick people like me and Akane, right?
And what about the others?
Right before the morning announcement, I was totally sleeping in my motel room.
I think everyone at the motel was doing that.
So everyone who stayed at the motel doesn't have an alibi.
What about you guys?
I was where I was supposed to be, my own cottage.
That's not an alibi.
Aside from those afflicted by the disease, if nobody has an alibi, then...
No, that's wrong! Hold on. Not all of us are missing an alibi. In fact, Mikan and I both have alibis.
You two have alibis?
Up until I saw that hanging video, Mikan and I were actually together for a while.
We even woke up together that morning.
Hey, what kind of situation is that?
What the heck?
I accidentally fell asleep on top of Hajime.
Too much info.
Yeah, it's not like that. She just came to tell me Nagito's condition had improved.
And we went to the hospital together afterward, so we were together until right before the announcement.
I get it. You guys have alibis.
If that's the case, the killer must be someone else.
It's better if we think about it like that. The
Okay.
killer decided to falsify the murder sequence to hide the actual time of the crime anyway.
So it's inevitable that an alibi for both before and during the morning announcement would be very important.
It feels
If
like Operation
that was the
Destroy
time
the
of the
Weakest
murder.
Alibi has backed us into a corner instead.
But committing an imitation murder, is that really all it was?
Huh?
Faking the time the crime occurred by falsifying the murder sequence, hiding their alibi in the process? Was that the only reason the killer made both bodies imitate the movie?
Are you saying there was another reason?
I feel really bad for confusing you guys so much, but that's how I feel. I think the killer had a completely different reason for falsifying the murder sequence.
So that they had an easy time staging something. Are we still in the killer's trap? Inside a trap set by one of us? If so then, whose and what kind of trap is it? Wow. Just wow.
Hiya!
Why hello there, Monomi! The moss balls sure look tasty today.
Stop it!
Stop it! Don't characterize me as someone who lives off moss balls. And here's some chance time! What's that? Now then, Monomi's appeal time starts now! Huh? Appeal time? Your kind-hearted big brother is gonna give you the chance to reclaim your honor. Good luck! Show those jerks who treat you like a red-headed stepchild who's boss. That's 99% your fault. While you were whining, your time's already running out, so please make your appeal simple. About 30,000 words or so. That's too long! It'd just be a boring appeal. Come on, if your appeal is successful, there might be merchandise opportunities heading your way. Then... I'm Usami, magical miracle girl. Usami, I'm an itty bitty girl who's sweet like milk. Jeez, and I thought a certain robot's little sister was supposed to be the best.
What a disappointment!
Who are you talking about? I have no clue whatsoever. Oh, those two. Oh, really hilarious. Yep. Class trial resumed.
I'm Monomi. Once again, I've been put in such an unreasonable situation. Seriously, he's like the king of unreasonableness. Why did it turn out like this? We were supposed to have a fun, friendly school trip, but it turned out all bloody instead. No! This definitely cannot be allowed. That's why I want you to remember this. Everyone, do your very best. Don't lose to yourself. And don't forget to save frequently.
Whoa. Okay. Allow me to pause here for a little bit. Because during the break during the trial suspension, something occurred to me. Now this trial, there is one person that is now highly suspect. And that person is Mikan. Reason why I suspect her is that she was in a situation to do so. Let me put it this way. The murders don't necessarily need to have occurred in the morning during the announcement. Pretty much before that, especially Ibuki's murder seems to have occurred before that. However, Hiyoko's murder shall be occur a little bit earlier. Well, it occurred before Ibuki's, but it doesn't necessarily have to have occurred during the time of the morning announcement. The reason for that is that actually they could have been staged. Well, actually, I mean, what we know is that Hajime saw someone climb a stepladder with a handbag walking towards a noose on a black curtain background. That is, how do I put it? That is something that could have been staged, especially because we know there are two bags from the one who actually bought it. And we've also noticed that with that the conference room in the hospital is very likely capable of creating that same setting that we saw on the monitor. And we all know that during the time that that live presentation was going on, Mikan was headed or went to the on-call room, which is right next to it. The broken devices that we saw in the music venue did not necessarily have to be the ones that were also there. Mikan could have figured it out. Mikan knew about this. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be the ones that were used for the communication, actually. That's what I have to say. And so Mikan could have staged that in the conference room. She also had access to Ibuki, and Ibuki we saw was incredibly gullible. And, well, how do I put it? You could tell her to do anything. You could tell her to step on the ladder and then let the ladder drop. Just to hide the facts or something. That being said, I don't know why Mikan would want to kill Ibuki. In all honesty, I haven't seen her do anything that would motivate Mikan to kill Ibuki. Hiyoko, on the other hand, was actually really mean. She was an outright bully towards Mikan. She was just... and it wouldn't surprise me that they would probably during the night come across one another and Hiyoko said again something mean. Or better yet, Hiyoko was in the music venue. Mikan knew that, Mikan saw it, and she just snapped. Or she was affected with this despair disease as well, because this despair disease apparently causes you to do the opposite of what your personality is. Mikan is pretty caring, pretty not really confident. Being the opposite is meaning that she starts to be confident in herself, capable of knowing what she can do, and also much more aggressive, much more violent, pretty much snapping at the moment she would see Hiyoko. Mikan has a really good motive to see Hiyoko dead. Then I still don't know what it is why Ibuki. And the problem is that she also has an alibi for going... well, how do I say it? For going... well, being... well, she didn't have a complete alibi, but still that would be very short time for her to go to the music venue, rip off the wallpaper, fold it up and glue the door and shut. Even break a drum thing. It's really short time. But then again, I don't know how fast or how short time this game actually thinks is enough time. So that makes me really suspicious of Mikan. In addition, just having the heat up does not mean that you cannot have some indication of when someone dies. Usually there are some, how do I put it, some calculations that can be done to approximate a window. She could have seen if the murder had really occurred at that moment, because it was a really short time from the announcement, and which it should have occurred, and the time that, well, they were doing the autopsy. Her autopsy wasn't really that helpful either. That's why I think it's having Mikan, what Mikan did, makes her very suspicious. And she had free reign during the night. She had access to all the patients. She had access to, well, pretty much the equipment. She could move things around. She was awake during the time. She knew where everything came from. So I'm really hoping now that I am terribly wrong with my deductions. And that I'm missing a vital piece of evidence. But I do not know who else would be motivated to kill even one of these two. Well, Fuyuhiko, maybe Hiyoko again, because Hiyoko. But then that would not make sense why he would slit open his own stomach. It's just that it's really weird. Also, one thing that still is bugging me, Was it the male or female physique that was climbing the ladder? And it cut out before she could actually, well, how do I say it? She could actually hang, or you see someone fall hanging because it cut out the feet. That was the thing. There are still a few mysteries, but I really don't like that Mikan is now prime suspect number 1. Well, let's see it as we continue on. I've rented along enough now. Let's see if we can figure out who really did it. The reason the killer did an imitation murder. It's a reason other than falsifying the murder sequence. Does something like that even exist?
Huh. It suddenly got quiet in here. Did I confuse you? If so, I wish I could die from self-loathing.
Man, this again.
If that's the case, it would have been just dandy if they had gone ahead and killed me too. If that happened, the imitation would have been perfect. So why didn't they do that?
Well, it's against the rules to kill 3 people in the first place.
That rule is too harsh. I couldn't get killed because of that.
Seriously, just shut up already! Shut up forever!
Yeah,
I'm thinking about it again, and he's totally right. It feels incomplete.
Because they didn't kill 3 people like the movie did? That's only because of Monokuma's rule.
It's not just that. Come on, try to remember the contents of the movie. About the lion that got killed second.
That's the one Hiyoko's body was imitating, right?
Even though we're
what's
calling it
this
an
flickering?
imitation, the lion was actually pinned by arrows, right? But Hiyoko's body was suspended by common household duct tape.
Yeah.
Maybe they just used a common substitute because it was too difficult to imitate the arrows.
Well, that's
Might
probably
be.
it, but that attitude is what makes this feel incomplete. If falsifying the murder sequence was the killer's plan from the very beginning, they should have taken steps to properly imitate it.
But if we never realized it was a half-assed imitation, their entire plan would have been completely useless.
I think the original murder of Hiyoko was a crime of passion, of opportunity. And then they had to, well, stage things. Again! Mikan falls in that prime suspect now.
What are you trying to say? Are you saying the imitation wasn't planned?
I'm saying Hiyoko's murder wasn't.
What?
Hiyoko's murder wasn't planned? Yeah, I think so too.
I understand that imitation wasn't enough, but aren't you making a bunch of assumptions?
It's not just the poor imitation. There are also other strange details.
Strange details? Like what?
Like, for example, why did Hiyoko go to the music venue?
Why did Hiyoko go to the music venue?
So, you're saying the truth behind Hiyoko's murder is hidden?
I have no freaking clue what you're trying to say.
However, this is getting quite interesting. My 4 dark devas of destruction are getting riled up.
Why Hiyoko went to the music venue, if that's the key to all this? Oh come on, that means Sonia. We need to find that out, no matter the cost. Sonia told her, didn't she? Motel room key.
Why did Hiyoko go to the music venue? There's no way we'd know that!
Maybe the killer summoned her.
If that's not it, maybe she got abducted by the killer.
No.
No, maybe. She went of her own free will.
Or she was guided by the will of causality.
Oh wait. We need to find out why Hiyoko went to the music venue first.
Why did Hiyoko go to the music venue? There's no way we'd know that!
Maybe the killer summoned her.
If that's not it, maybe she got abducted by the killer.
No, maybe. She went of her own free will.
Or she was guided by the will of causality.
Wait! That was it and... Ah, come on.
She got abducted by the killer.
No, maybe.
Then this
She
is...
went of her own free will.
I agree with that.
Then this should be it. Okay.